Nothing can be denied the one that won't be denied. The question is, how bad do you want it? That's the question.
Hey, y'all. We have Dr. Billy Alsbrooks with us today on the I Can Do Anything podcast, along with Ashley Allen. How are you today?
Doing great, blessed and unstoppable. That's how we do.
Blessed and unstoppable. I think that I believe I have a book entitled that.
Oh yeah, good, good, good. How you like it?
I love this book. This book is legit. It has everything of a guide. It's A to Z of what you can do, what you should do. It has positive affirmations. Uh, I'm jumping way ahead, but this is so exciting. There's one that I really, really like. And it's I will never quit on myself or my dreams. I'm a champion, strategically designed to overcome adversity. I am anointed by God to succeed. Therefore, I am blessed and unstoppable.
That's right. Amen
Love
to
that.
that. God is good. God is good.
God is good. It's really relevant because Ashley and I have been talking on our podcast recently and offline about not stopping, about continuing, keep going. How do you get the motivation? Is it consistency? What is it that gets that motivation and success started? And Ashley has a dream of her own. I have my dreams. And this really came at a great time.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It's all
Where,
about, the reason behind what you're doing. Successful people know what they want and why they want it. And that's why they're able to keep going when, the world starts closing in and things don't happen, and the drama, the trauma, the drama, the trials, the tribulations, the setbacks, all of that come. You've got to have a reason to do what you're doing. Otherwise, you're gonna succumb to those moments. So those with the strong whys, as I say, the reason, the motive behind it, those are the ones that keep going, and those are the ones that end up achieving the high goals and high level of impact.
So, I mean, you've become a pretty successful author at this point. Did you ever see yourself as an author, or did it just kind of divine inspiration, or how did that journey come about?
Well, I'd always been writing. It was different kind of author. I was doing songs. I started out in the music business. I was writing poems and 16 bar verses, and then albums, and then songs for other people.
Mm-hmm.
So I had been doing that for like 17, 18 years in the music business, and done it at a high level. I'd been on Billboard, produced for multi-gold and platinum acts from the song standpoint. The book, when I started getting the vision, when God put that in me around 2009 or 10, I got the first vision. But I struggled with it because I had the self-doubt. I'm like, Lord, I can't write a whole book, and that's not 16 bar rap like I'm used to, and I'm not comfortable with that, and all the stuff, like who am I to write, and all that stuff got in the way. I would start writing, a page or two, and then a couple of days later, I'd be like, nah, I can't do that. I can't do that. And then I would try to downgrade the goal, right? Like what we do if, instead of the book, it's like I'll write a calendar, and I'll just put 12, writings on the 12 months, because I couldn't write a full book. I'll just try to downgrade the dream. Then that didn't turn out the way I wanted. I just kind of lost interest with that. Flirted again with it in 14, got about 30 pages in, and said, something's not right with that. And then 16, though, it was like that, the drums were beating. It's like, no, you've got to do what I've called you to do. You got to put this down. And I just turned the pen over to God, and I said, I don't want to just write a book to say I wrote a book. I want to write something that's actually going to, be useful, impactful, and change lives. So I started out with a little study, and I saw a number that was really, really, that stuck with me. It said that 90% of the people that buy a book or read a book never read it past the first chapter. And I was like, okay, well, if I'm trying to change the lives, how in the world am I going to get them past that first chapter? Right. Mm-hmm. So I strategically designed this book in a way that's not intimidating. Right. Mm-hmm. You see a 300-page book, you're like, that's a lot to read if you don't read all the time. Yeah. So I broke it down into daily readings that take, 5-10 minutes to do the reading aspect. And, there's some homework that you can take more time on, but it's not intimidating when you open it up and see it. And that's the way I structured it. Try to make it, impactful, but not give a person too much at too quick, too fast, one day at a time, take this principle, let it, be absorbed in your spirit, and then move to the next one. And then when 31 days are over, the month's over, you could start back and, and get it back in your system again. So I didn't see myself the author, as you mentioned, like that I am now, but I saw myself as a writer, just not this type.
I think that's a huge testament to following what you feel is put on your heart, because obviously you may not have seen it, but you say God gave you that inspiration and you followed
That's
it.
right.
But I think could you speak to, I guess, how to get going when you feel that kind of that spark in your soul? How do you push past those doubts? How do you, for just anybody, because I know we have that and you followed it and you can see why you were led to that,
Well, I got discouraged many, many times. I did what we'll call scoreboard watching, right? Like this book was going to be 300 pages and I'd get real excited and start writing. And then I'd look up and say, man, I got 280 something more pages to go. How am I going to get there? Right. Mm-hmm. So many times along the way, I'll be honest. I quit. There was one point where I really, really gave up for like 2 months. I had written for 2-3 weeks straight, sitting at my laptop, just typing away almost, 10 hours a day. So excited on that honeymoon phase of the dream, right? When you first get it and you're all excited, you have that euphoria and everything, nothing can stop you at this point. So for, 2 weeks, I was just sitting there typing this book out, and around somewhere about 2 weeks, the honeymoon wore off, euphoria wore off. And now I'm in that middle ground, and the middle ground is where most dreams die. And what I mean by that is in the beginning, you have that high, you're excited. The end, you can see almost the goal, right? You can almost see the end, right, the finish line. So you're motivated. But that middle ground, when you can't see the beginning and you can't see the end, that is the part where people concede and fold and give up on the dreams. And I hit that part. And what I did is I looked up on the scoreboard and I'm like, I'm at only, 100 pages and I got 204 more to go and I'm exhausted. Nobody had taught me how to write a book. Writing is a technique too, the structure of how you write. So I literally said, there's no way. I waved the white flag and I had nothing left in the tank on the inside. And I said, there's no way I'm gonna be able to write another 200 pages. So I saved it, put it on my desktop on the screen and just left it there. 2 months went by and a friend sent me this email. And the reason they sent me this email was it was an article about these two authors, and they sent it to me for a different reason, right? The message, but God had the message in it that I needed to hear for something else, right? So as I read the article in the email, it was about Stephen King and the guy who wrote Game of Thrones, and they were on a book tour together. And the guy from Game of Thrones asked Stephen King, he said, how do you put out books so fast? Like every 3 months you're dropping a new book. And it's a top seller, bestseller, and it's quality work. How are you able to do this? He's like, it takes me 9 months to write a chapter of Game of Thrones, and you've already got 3 books out in this time. So Stephen King replied with, well, I keep it simple. I think he said something like, every day I get up at 8 o'clock in the morning and I sit at my typewriter, and my goal is to just write 3 to 5 pages a day. That's it. He's like, I don't critique it. I don't edit it. I don't judge it. I just want to write 3 to 5 pages every single day. And he said, if I do this 30 days, I got between 90 and 150 pages, right? And in 3 months, I've got 450 pages, which is the size of his novel. He says, then I go back and edit, critique, and strengthen the work. He said, but I don't do that on an everyday basis. I just get up and do those 3 to 5 pages. And that's what I needed to hear, because I was trying to write 300 pages in a day. And I was trying to put tomorrow, yesterday, and today all into today. We can't do that. And to remind myself of that, that wisdom that I got actually in this book, if you look at the first quote in this book, I reminded myself of this. Yeah, the first quote in the book is to remind me of this lesson. It says, success is a marathon of consistency walked out one day at a time. So I'm trying to write 2 months in one day. I can't do it, right? So, when I read that article, I said, okay, I've got 200, roughly 204 pages left. I divided, okay, if I write 5 a day, it's going to be roughly 40 days. Can I do it? I was like, okay, I can do it. So I sat down 40 days and the book was done. So I just didn't know the technique. And that's a lot of times our issue. It's not that we're not gifted or talented enough. And it's just, we don't know the technique of how to do it. And, having a dream is one thing, but being able to execute is a different, whole different story.
Yep.
And I needed that knowledge, to do that. And once I got it, then the dream became a reality.
So who was in your support system to get you through that at the time?
To be honest, I'll be honest, outside of the wife and my mother at that time, I was really, really isolated alone because I had just came out of my old life, which was totally running contrary to what I was doing. I was in the music business. I was in the rap life, thug life, drugs, gangs, all of that life. And here I am doing something positive. So like my friends, you know, in that world didn't come over to the world I was moving into. So, you know, I still had contacts with them and loved them and all that, but I was moving in a different place. And I was moving ahead of the friends that hadn't got there yet. The new friends in this field where I was being moved to hadn't arrived, right? So I was really alone. But at that point, that is what I needed to do to write. Because, you know, if you don't have anybody to talk to, who better to talk to than the computer screen, the blank page, right? And that's where I channeled everything that I wanted to say to everybody else. I just, you know, channeled it into the book. So it became actually the weapon and the stimulus that created, you know, the project.
You talk about that quite a bit in your book in different sections. If I'm remembering correctly, you talk about eliminating, not toxic friends, but eliminating the friends that drain the energy from you. In fact,
That's right.
I underlined that. It's on the left-hand side, third paragraph down.
That's right.
I know right where it is. And then you also talk about your core, in your core circle, who's important, and just making sure that that core circle is really where you want to be, and taking time to, you didn't quite say this, but what I took from it was take time to really do some self-reflection to make sure that that's the group that you want to be with. Doesn't mean you need to stay with that group all the time, but for where you're at in your life, is that the right group that you need to be with? And surround yourself, lots and lots of quotes about surrounding yourself with, if you're not the wisest man in the room, be with the wisest men in the room. If you don't have the knowledge, be with people that have the knowledge. And
that's right.
Spot on.
Right. In this world we're in, when you're trying to do big things, high achievement, you've got to protect your energy. It's never been more important in this world because there's a ton of distractions. It seems like the whole world is set up just to distract us. The social media, the news, like just all of that, right? And we have to quarantine, what I say in my seminars, quarantine the mind. It's not the body we need to quarantine, it's the mind. You know, and if you get around a bunch of people that are thinking and speaking, running contrary to what you're trying to achieve, you are going to be going against the grain and you're going to have tremendous struggle. So at all times, I suggest self-assessing those that are around you. And in the book, I lay it out. I almost say great amount. Now, I want to clarify something. You know, we're supposed to love everybody, you know, as believers and Christians, and God wants us to love everybody. But that doesn't mean we're supposed to give everybody access. We're not supposed to give everybody access, right?
That's a fantastic point. Fantastic point.
The discernment is figuring out who actually is supposed to have that access and who's not for the season and the dream that you're dreaming. You know, somebody might have had complete access and needed access at the last season of your life, but they might not need the same access on this one you're moving toward now. So you have to always just, you know, discern is, you know, the people around me, are they contributing and helping in some way to move me toward that dream? Or is the role different? Maybe I'm there for them and I'm supposed to sow life into them, but you have to identify what the relationship is, you know, designed for. Am I sowing into this, or is this being sown into me? Or is this, you know, what is the objective behind the relationship? And in the book, I talk about grading it out between, you know, your 5 closest friends. They say you're the sum total of the 5 people that you hang out with the most, right? So the way I do it is grade the 5 out, 1 to 5. 1 being this person drains me. Meaning, like if you get in their presence, they might be good people. They might even be your family. You get in their presence, and when you leave, you feel drained, or, you know, have less energy or less excitement or more frustration than when you came. Right. So that person would be a 1. And then the top scale is I get in this person's presence maybe, and I'm drained, I'm broken, I'm going through the struggle, and I get in their presence. And by the time I come out, I feel like I can conquer the world. Now, those are the people that you want. You want everyone to grade out at a 4 to 5. If they're not grading out the 4 to 5 on your scale, the 1, 2s, and 3s, you need to go to them and say, listen, I love you, but we're gonna have to change the dynamic here of the relationship. We're either gonna have to move it to 4 or 5, the positivity, or we're gonna have to maybe re-examine this thing and not see each other as much. I love you, but I've got goals and ambitions, and God's put some things in me. And in order to do that, I have to protect, who I grant access with. So if they're truly your friends, they're going to want to move up that scale. If they're not, they probably weren't supposed to be there in the first place.
We have talked, Ashley and I have talked about several times about, are you in my life for, what is that saying?
A reason, a season, or a lifetime, I think is the quote.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
So we talk about that. Some people come into our lives and out of our lives, and we don't always know why, but we hope that we always put a positive embrace on them, whether they're staying or whether they are just a chapter.
That's right. And the wisdom is identifying what that is, being able to see.
Hard.
It is. I pray all the time, show me what I don't see, Lord. Show me what I don't see, what I'm not seeing. Because the hidden is the most dangerous thing. It's not the things you see, because you'll prepare for them or you'll protect yourself from them. It's the things that you don't see. Those are the things that you must be aware of and ask for guidance, so that you can avoid the pitfalls and the things that might happen from those situations.
It's a pretty brave thing to be able to stand up to your friends. I mean, not that, like, again, sometimes they're not doing anything necessarily wrong or bad or anything, but sometimes, like you said, it's like, I'm not getting as much as I thought out of being around them. I mean, it's hard when, I think, since we're children, we're taught to kind of be yes people, like, get along with them. It's okay. Be nice to them anyways. And it's hard to kind of stand up to someone and be like, you know what, you're not fulfilling me in a way, or even if you're not saying it outright. So it's a big thing.
Our natural instinct, our flesh wants to adopt that herd mentality.
Right.
We want to be around everybody else, be accepted and liked and everything. But greatness runs contrary to that. Greatness runs contrary to everything the common person is doing. I say in the seminars that I teach, if you want to be great, look at the common person and take notes, highly detailed notes of everything they do, and then make sure you never do any of those things. It's real simple. And now that's the truth. I mean, there's a reason they call them the 1%. They're not doing what the other 99% are doing. And if you want to be great, you have to get rid of the fear of being rejected.
Right.
You have to get rid of the fear of being called different. Yes, I'm different. I'm supposed to be different. If I'm going to the highest levels of achievement, everybody should be calling me different. Everybody really should have a problem with me, because if they don't, that means I'm not pushing it enough. I'm not dreaming big enough. I'm not doing things outside the box. And if I'm doing what everyone else is doing, I start to worry. I want to make sure if I see a line, everybody going one way, I almost 100% know that that's not the line to be in. If you're trying to be big things, you have to program your mind, to think contrarian. The same thing in stock market. If everybody's, like right now, the stock market's at highs, right? Why would you be buying at the highs? But it makes sense because everybody's making money. But and when it's at the bottom and everybody's running saying, oh, well, everybody's losing money in the stock, you got to be the one to go in and buy, because that's the ones that get rich. So it's really that battle every day with the flesh, and the flesh wants to be comfortable. Let's just be like everybody else. Let's just be, go with the herd mentality. But greatness says, no, I was designed for more. I love everybody, but we've got a mission, we got a calling, and we got to do what we were called to do, or we're not going to feel fulfilled.
What do you say to someone, or what would you say to someone who says, I don't know that I have anything that makes me great, or I don't know that I feel like I have this, destiny inside. I mean, I truly believe that everyone has that potential in them. Everyone is destined for some sort of greatness, and you just have to find that passion. But what would you say to someone who's looking to find that, or is doubting themselves, or something like that?
Well, start with the right mindset. First of all, greatness made us. Therefore, greatness is in us, right? Lukewarm, average did not make us. Greatness made us. We are the bloodline and descendants of King, right? The King. So why would our life be strategically set up to be, average? That's just not the case. Now, if we can't see, we need to just pray, Lord, give me vision to see what it is that you call me to do. Show me my gifts. Show me my calling. I teach it like this: follow the smoke. What are the things that set you on fire? What are the things that you're really, really passionate about? If money was no object and it wasn't about the money and you could just get up today and do whatever, what is that thing that you would do? I'm sorry about the puppies.
We
I
love
got two
dogs
little
here.
babies. I got two little babies. They hear me upstairs and they do this from time to time. I'm sorry.
It happens. Oh, no need to apologize.
I have
They'll
a
calm down in a second. There we go.
what have you ever had a time where let's say one of your group of 5 really were maybe like they were a 3 or a 2, and did they ever come around later and become back into your circle of a 4 or 5? Did they ever see and really reevaluate their life to really, I'm going to call it leveling up?
Unfortunately, I
No.
can't speak of too many examples to be, because
Okay.
usually it's usually, it's an identity in a state of mind. And I haven't seen too many that did that. The ones that came back in my life were already doing big things in other areas, and then we
Right.
just came back connecting and something together. But they were already, doing big things in their own life or whatever.
Right.
And we might have come back and intersect between what we're doing in profession. But I haven't seen too many 1s and 2s that had that kind of mindset ever really break out, because it takes a lot of work. Most people don't want to put the work in.
Right.
Yeah, to go to that next level, you're almost going to have to check and dissect every single thought that you have. Every single thought that you have, you're gonna have to, reprogram that mind from, being a common individual and common thinking, and reprogram it and rewire it to greatness. And that means checking every single thought that comes down the pipeline.
Yeah. We've talked about it before too, me and Robin, where we talk about, you have to be there mentally. You can just, you have to be receptive to it. If your mind is stuck in a different place, you can have amazing opportunities be right in front of you, but you won't notice because you're just not there. And so you have to want it. And it's the truth. I mean, and I also, I don't think that I've never done the grading scale, but I definitely am going to use that into my life. And Robin, you get a high score from me, just so you know.
Thank you.
And but it is interesting because, I mean, you're right. It's hard for them to level up, I think. And I'm interested to see how this is going to play out in like life and how that changes the way we live.
You need some people too, though, that are going to challenge you too, that are going to make you feel uncomfortable too. And as you mentioned earlier, some people are there for that reason, like the one that will give it to you straight. Like in this case, you might not feel better when you leave them, but you left there with the truth.
Right.
Like, I've got to deal with this issue. They told me the truth when everyone else gave you lip service. Like, let's say you got on a dress and you say, hey, does this look good? And all your family says, yeah, you look good. And it's an ugly dress. No one will tell you. But your friend is saying, what are you wearing, girl?
Yeah.
Right? Like, then okay, that's the one you need. You still need that person in your life, right? That's
Right.
gonna say that to you, because sometimes that's gonna be the thing that's gonna help you break through and go to that next level.
Yeah, that's me in almost all of my relationships.
Robin,
I'm the honest one. Yeah. No, I'll call it how I see it.
Amen.
Yeah.
I teach it like this with a doctrine called fire truth music. And this is how I base everything. I'm probably gonna actually do a book on it after the second one here that I'm working on. But the basis of it is, number one, follow the fire. You've got to do in life what sets you on fire, right? Not the money. Most times, we look for a job to see how much it pays and the benefits and things like that, instead of asking, does this thing set me on fire? Would I do this with no compensation because I love it? We got to start with the fire. And that's the same thing in relationships. If you're going to be with somebody, they need to set you on fire. You don't need another lukewarm relationship. We got enough of those. We need something where we're connected and we feel. And then from that place, we've got to wrap that in the second part, which is truth, our truth. We can't be anybody else, right? We can only truly be ourselves. If we want to be great, we have to own that truth. And most people really don't own much of them. They own what everybody else has put on them. They're living a life that's really not them. And sometimes we get so lost and walking around a state of amnesia, we forgot who we were altogether, right? But the only way to be really, really successful is pull those layers back and say, this is who I am. And in every relationship that you have, like those 5 people we were talking about, you set the standard. Like, listen, in our relationship, we're going to be real.
Yeah.
If we can't be real, then we shouldn't be, we shouldn't have this kind of access, and we shouldn't have the kind of relationship. Now, we're not supposed to be harmful and hurtful and things like that, but we're supposed to keep it real. Like if there's a problem, let's come together and talk about it. Let's not just, suppress it, repress it, push it down and not talk about it and let it build up and all that. Let's be real. So the fire, the truth, and then the last part, what I call music, is the packaging, right? How we package up things and deliver that music, that vibration to the world, the gift, the value that we add is what I call the music, not acoustic music, but the music, since everything in the world is a vibration, right? What we do is a vibration. Our art, our gift is a vibration, which is music. So we take our passion, we take that truth, we wrap it in, and then we deliver it in some kind of way that adds value to the world. And if we could live through those three things right there, I think we'll be on the right path to live in fulfillment.
You talk about your training sessions. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how people can attend?
Yeah, I'm on a 40-city tour right now across the US and Europe, the Blessed and Unstoppable tour. Usually the seminars are 4 to 5 hours. And we get it in those 4 to 5 hours, we break it down. I really try to I hold up a mirror basically and just show the person, look, this is who you are. Who do you want to be? What do we need to change? What lies have we adopted that, what lies are we living that we shouldn't be living? How much of us is really us? Asking the questions that don't get asked. Questions will take you wherever you want to go. You just got to ask that right question. So at the seminars, I do a lot of that. I introduce, just like that book is strategically designed with almost 400 questions in it. And if you answered every single one of them and actually meditated on it and thought them through and answered it, by the end of that book, you cannot be the same. Questions open the mind up for reprogramming, right? Yeah. And to give you an example, how many of us have ever said, I keep trying to tell somebody something, right? And they're not listening. They're not changing, right? Because we're telling them. But if we ask them a question, that opens their mind up, and then we can insert, hey, maybe you ought to try this or that, and then a person is more receptive to that. So questions have power. So in my seminars, I lay out the art of greatness. I teach 7 universal principles for success, and then I give some really profound, life-changing self-assessment questions that we go through there in the seminar. And by the time they leave, they've got the momentum, at least got a blueprint to, with the book to start moving into their calling and their gift.
How many people would you say on average, percentage-wise, come to your seminars and they don't really have a goal? Or they don't know what their goal is?
I would say 25 come there like that, but they're ready, or they wouldn't come to my seminar. Usually if they find me with the motivation, they're at a state already in their life. They're looking for something different. A person seeks out motivation when you're going through the struggle, you're going through sickness, you're going through a divorce, you're going through bankruptcy, or you're just unfulfilled and just want to give up, things like that. Those are the people that tend to seek out motivation. So they're already in a good state, which what I mean by that is they're in a place where they're ready for change, right? When we're comfortable, we don't really want change. Like, well, everything's good, we'll just keep it the same. But when your whole life falls apart, in like recovery with addicts, they call it, hit rock bottom, right? The addict won't stop until they hit rock bottom and everything is falling apart. And then they say, enough is enough, I'm going to change. And those are the kind of people that usually come to my seminar. So they're already on that path, but 25% usually, like, I don't know what I want. I just not fulfilled. The other ones tend to know or have a clue. And then there's a small group, about 20%, that say, hey, I know what I want to do. I just need them steps to, to execute this dream. So it's a mix, but most people that come to these events, they're ready, in a state already for that next level. They just don't know the technique or just hadn't found themselves yet. So
for the rest of the year, where can people go to your seminars? What cities will you be in?
If you go to blessedandunstoppable.com, I've got the list on there on the tour dates. But coming up this weekend, I'm gonna be in San Diego, California. Nice. The week after that, Boston. September 26th, I'll be in Toronto. And let's see, October 3rd, San Antonio. October 10th, Denver. October 17th, Orlando. Then November 7th, Raleigh. What's that?
I'm in Orlando in September, but
I'll make the trip. And no better place to be in October than Orlando, right?
Nice. All right,
And then November 14th, I'll be in Rome, going to Europe. And then we finish out December, San Fran and New York, the week before Christmas in New York. And then we had moved 2 dates, London and Paris. We had moved because of the COVID restrictions for people coming in. 10-day quarantine. We had to move that to January, but January we have those two, and then at the end of January, early February, we're going to be doing a mega event in Miami. So that's where we're going right now.
Okay.
Yeah,
It'd be huge.
God is good.
So this book is volume 1. Where's volume 2? Because I'm gonna.
Well, actually, I'm writing this one. You can't hardly see. Let me see if I can tilt the camera. This is going to be the second one, Burning.
Okay.
And then over here is volume 2. It's going to be after Burning. The Burning is going to be my, it's going to be a hybrid. It's going to be a hybrid between my poetry and personal development and motivation.
I love that.
Slammed together. Like that one there, this one here lays out the laws and principles of success, right? The external laws, so we understand how to navigate the laws in place. This book, Burning, is going to be more about you as an individual, going into the core of you, the heart, the pains, the struggles, the heartbreaks. I'm gonna just keep it real with the poetry. You know, there's some good times and there's some terrible breakdowns and all of that, and hopefully turn those into teaching situations as well, and helping people from a different place run through self-assessment questions. You know, like I will say, okay, here's a heartbreak I had, I'll write the poetry, and then come to the self-assessment question. When was your biggest heartbreak? You know, how did you overcome that? Are you still going through it? What do you need to come out of it? You know, things like that, and connecting these two together. I don't think it's ever been done this way that I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do it in a different way. Poetry, personal development, ministry, and motivation, all slammed together in a nice strategic way of doing it. I'm still going to probably do the daily thing too. I'm probably going to do 90 days this way. Like that one's 31. I'm probably going to do 90 days for this one.
So the first chapter is Detox Emotionally. And
yes,
right off the bat, that really hit me. A couple things. And really, it's about forgiveness, really. Unforgiveness is volunteered emotional incarceration. So if you think about that, if you can't forgive people, you are constantly going to be in a state of prison, more or less, within yourself, and refuse to give the devil a foothold in your life. So that really resonated with me. These chapters are broken down and parsed out so well that anybody can follow this. This is absolutely doable. And then when you go towards the back, so the self-awareness, I know people can't see it because it's backward, but a friend of mine and I were talking about forgiveness, and we have been for pretty much over a week, because we think, okay, this person harmed us. We still have not forgiven them. We know we should. Why can't we? And one of I'm going to go back to my favorite quote in this one is, resentment is like drinking poison and then hoping it will kill your enemies. Nelson Mandela. That one spoke, and I, of course, circled all the ones that spoke to me most. But then you also have an area for the workbook. And the workbook is write down the names of the people who have hurt you in the past, pray over this list of names, and ask God to bless them tremendously in every aspect of their lives.
That's powerful.
And you think
that's hard. That's hard.
Yeah. I'm thinking that now. Ooh.
I'm calling Billy Alsbrooks, and we're having to talk about this because I don't know. And then down at the bottom, it's do this every day until you flush all the negative energy and ill will towards these people out of your system. Well, if you do it enough days, it seems very logical that this is what will happen. So we are starting this tomorrow.
That's awesome.
I'm getting like goosebumps from that one. That's tough.
Well, I can expand a little bit on that step too, and give you some stories. There's several examples. I travel a lot, being on this tour, right? And one way I explain the baggage that's harming us, right? The emotional stuff that we're holding on to from the past, and the hurts and the resentments and the things that didn't work out, the traumas and all that. When I go to the airport, like tomorrow, I'll go to San Diego. So I'll go to the airport, and the first person when I see at the desk, they'll say, how many bags are you carrying onto the plane? Right? And there's a limit. You can carry 1 or 2 bags free. And then now if you want another one, they charge like $150 for that third bag. It's really, really expensive, right? And then after that, it's almost like you can't even put a bag on there because they won't allow it. And life is the same way. You can't get on the success plane with a whole bunch of luggage and baggage, right? There's no room for that. You can either let that stuff go, or you can get on that plane, one or the other. Some people try to pull up to that plane and they say, how many bags you got? Well, I got this U-Haul truck. Can y'all find a place? That's not going to work. See? And here's another thing. People say, well, why God hadn't promoted me or blessed me? Or why didn't I get this breakthrough? Because sometimes having that breakthrough without dealing with this stuff will kill you, will destroy you, will do more harm to you. Like we see this every day in Hollywood. People blow up and become massive stars, but have not dealt with the stuff from the past, kill themselves, commit suicide, get on drugs and everything else. Divorce after divorce. Why? Because this stuff hadn't been dealt with. And there was this really, really profound story. I'll tell you, it was about this tree that started growing 500 years ago, around the time Columbus landed in the Americas, right? And this tree just kept growing and growing. The roots went deep. It'd been hit by lightning 16 times, drought, storms, blizzards, snow, everything that the weather on the outside, had, it threw against this tree. But the tree was like, I'm the tree. Nobody can stop me, right? I'm the tree. You can't blow me down, right? Mm-hmm. But a few years ago, this 500-year-old tree that had flourished, a few years ago, some people introduced these small beetles into the surrounding environment of the area of the tree. And those beetles worked their way over to the tree, ate themselves into the tree, and started mating and breeding inside the tree. Mm-hmm. Now, within 9 months, what had been standing there for 500 years and withstood everything that the outside world could do, these little bugs ate that tree on the inside, and that tree fell over. And it's the same with us. What the enemy can't do to us on the outside, he'll do it to us on the inside. And those little bugs are what we call emotional termites. That's that unforgiveness. That's that undealt with material from the past that's sitting on the inside. It's the ticking time bomb. Mm-hmm. And if you remember, I said earlier, the hidden is the most dangerous. And where's the most hidden? It's on the inside of us. So we got to pull the curtain back and see what's behind there. This is what I was saying earlier too about truth. We got to get in truth and see what, if somebody said, well, I forgave them. The body language like this, every time they see each other, they hadn't really forgiven them. They repressed it, right? So that's really not being in truth. And one last example of this. When I was little, in middle school, little kids would come over and knock on my door and they'd say to my mother, Miss Alsbrooks, can Billy come out and play? And she'd say, yes, he can. So she'd call me and I'd get all excited, put my shoes on and start running from the door. And as soon as I got the door, my mom would stick her hand out. She's like, stop. Did you clean your room? Mm-hmm. Right. And I'm like, no, I haven't cleaned it. Mom, can I clean it after? She's like, no. She's like, your friends can come in and help you, but you can't leave till the room is clean. Right. So I go in the room, and of course, my room, oh boy, I got toys everywhere. My room's a mess, all over the floor, all over everywhere. So I tell my friends, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take these toys and shove them under the bed. Right. So we lift up the cover. We shove all this junk under the bed. Don't put nothing back where it belongs. We just shove it under there. Then we run out of space. So I'm like, okay, the closet. We open the closet, start throwing all this stuff in the closet, and then shut the door. And then I run out the door ready to go play. And Mom says, stop, Billy. You didn't have time to finish that room. You ain't have time to do that. Let's go see. So we go back into the room. Mom lifts up the cover on the bed, looks under there, and she says, what is that, Billy? That's not cleaning your room. You just shoved the stuff under there. Mm-hmm. Right. And then went to the closet. What is this, son? This is not cleaning the room. You just shoved stuff in the closet. Now, it's the same way with God. We say we forgive these people. All we have really done in our life is just shove this stuff under the bed. And we're running outside saying, Lord, I want success. And he's like, hold on. Let's go see the room. Let's check under the bed. Let's check in the closet. And he gets in and lifts it up and say, you didn't deal with this. Mm-hmm. We got to deal with this, Billy. And then open the closet. What about this, son? We got to deal with this. Mm-hmm. And until we do, he can't really use us to the full potential that we're capable of until we get in alignment with him.
Yeah.
And I lay that Bible verse out there too about get rid of all bitterness, anger, malice, jealousy, resentment, all these things. And that will put us in position to be ready for success. That's laying the foundation. Right. If we're going to build this tall skyscraper of success, right? The higher you're going to make the skyscraper, the deeper the roots must be and the stronger the foundation must be. We can't build that skyscraper on a rotten, shaken, cracked, toxic core or foundation. It's going to all come down. Like in Miami, the condo came down because the foundation was not stable and secure. And that's just like our life. We have to make sure the inside is right. And that's why I put it chapter 1 in that book. people don't think about success and that being the first step, but I'm like, you can't build success on that, on that kind of foundation. Mm-hmm. So step number 2 was strategically placed there as well. Now, we mentioned earlier, like when you were talking about in the workbook section, it was saying, pray and every single day and that'll happen. Now, sometimes there's some trauma that we on our own alone are just not going to be able to let go of. Mm-hmm. Right? That's why step 2 is there. Get alone with God every day. Because that's what, like, Lord, I'm trying to do the right thing. I'm trying to let this go. But this person hurt me and I don't know how to let it go. Mm-hmm. And then we bring it to him and then he'll help us pull that off. We can't do it on our own. Some things are just too difficult on the inside for us to deal with, and we're going to need some help. So that's why I placed that strategically there at number 2. So we do what we can. Step number 1, Lord, I'm trying to do your will. And then the stuff that we can't do on our own, we bring it to him and say, Lord, I need you to help me with this. So to sit here and just say forgive, that kind of diminishes and downplays some of the things that have been done to us. I don't want to do that because I know there's, all of us have some trauma and some stuff that was really, really, really done, wrong to us. And I don't want to say, well, just, that's okay. That's not okay what happened to us. Right. Mm-hmm. But, the forgiveness part isn't about them. It's about us. Yeah. Liberating us. When we forgive, we liberate ourselves. It doesn't mean we agree what they did, what they did to us. And it doesn't mean we have to allow them to do it again either. But it means I choose my future. My future is too important to be held hostage by what this person did to me in the past. And I choose you, God, and I'm going to let this go and turn it over to you. And you're going to help me get through it.
Yeah, I think that's something that we've been talking about this past week is how do you move forward? So you know that somebody has wronged you, somebody has hurt your feelings, somebody didn't trust you. So mine is much more recent than it is in the past, but I'm sure when you start writing everything down, lots of things come out. But how do you really let go? And that's a process. It's not something that I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning and say, oh, I talked to Dr. Billy Alsbrooks and I'm all good now.
Right. Exactly.
It's a lot of self-work and really diving deep and like you said, writing everything down. This person really hurt me, really hurt my feelings. I feel that, my personality and my character traits, my number one most important trait to me is honesty. Here, I feel like I'm one of the most honest people that there are, and this one person doesn't trust me. How it's very incongruent. It doesn't fit. So now I will need to go through this process, and it's going to take a while to get there.
Definitely. Success is a process. Getting up every day, like I said, that success is just a long list of today's done right. We can't do tomorrow. We can only do today. Let's get up today and try to do our best to let that stuff go today. Check every thought. Make sure we're looking under the bed, in the closet. Lord, got these steps. And if we do that every single day and walk that stuff out, sooner or later we'll get them and we will be free from the chains that held us for so long.
Sorry, Ashley, you were going to say something.
Oh, you're fine. I was going to say, you talk a lot about transformation. And so I'm curious, and I know we probably don't have too much time left, but would you talk to us a little bit about your transformation? Because I know you said you were, a rapper and you were in this one life and, but you've had, a breakthrough and you've come to God. And I would love to learn a little bit about that and just how that's opened doors and how you feel fulfillment from that.
Well, the way that it happened to me was not the way that I would have chose for it to happen. Of course, I went through trauma. This is what, like, hit the rock bottom. It's what really, really did it. What happened with me is my father had a stroke unexpectedly. I thought he was in good health, 63, looked 53, no health issues ever. And one day at 12:30 in the morning at night, I get this call, hey, your dad's had a stroke and it's not looking good. And then 12 days later, I'm with him in a nursing center because he had been making progress and getting better, but he still couldn't move his arm or leg. And they had moved him to this nursing rehabilitation center so that he could start, working on that, trying to get that back. But he was making progress. And I go in on a Sunday, 10 minutes later, he's gone. The doctor came in and said, look, your daddy's doing better. It's been 12 days now. He's making progress. But in order for him to have a chance at getting his arm movement back, his leg movement back, we're going to have to get him out of the bed. He's been in the bed too long. The longer he stays there, the more likely he's not going to get, regain use of it. So he said, what I want you to do is lift him up. We're going to lift him up, put him in a wheelchair and roll him outside and let him get some light, get us some sun on him, right? To get him back moving. So we did that. Me and the nurse lifted my daddy up, put him in the wheelchair. What we didn't know was because he'd been sitting there 12 days, he had a blood clot in his leg and it dislodged when we lifted him up and that blood clot went straight to the heart. And 10 minutes later, he's gone. And I saw the whole thing, the struggle to breathe and the eyes. And I saw literally life just go out of it, like right in my face. No one else there, just me and him. Yeah. And that rocked me to the core. I'm like, I couldn't do anything. I felt helpless trying to help him. Nothing we could do. So I had a lot of guilt on that. And then 2 days later, though, God began to move. What the devil meant for harm, God will make good. And I went to the funeral home to make the arrangements for my family. And my grandmother had bought 4 burial plots, right, for my family. My grandfather had already died, and then there was 3 other ones. So the funeral director, first thing he says to me is like, let me show you where we're going to lay your daddy. Now, this was part of the lesson. God was moving through this scenario. So we walk out to the gravesite, and he says, okay, there's your granddaddy, God rest his soul, in the ground. Here's where your grandmother will go when she transpires, when she was still living. Mm-hmm. Here's where we're going to bury your daddy. And then this last line is what changed me. He said, here's where you're going to lay. Mm. And I was like, ooh, because now it meant more to me after I just seen my daddy die 2 days before. When he said, here's where you're going to lay, I knew what that meant because I just got through seeing it. Close and personal. And even though I'd been in the rap life, thug life, and probably buried 20 something, friends from the gangs and the ODs and drugs and all that, it never clicked that I was gonna die. I know this sounds funny. Like we put this cape on in that world and we're like Superman, nothing's gonna happen to me. And even though they're all dying around me, I'm like, nothing's gonna happen to me, right? But my dad dying the way he did, I couldn't run from that anymore. I was like, okay, there is a timeline, there is an ending here. This is not gonna go on forever. And then we walked from there, from the gravesite back inside to his office. And as we're walking back, he's talking, consoling us. But all I'm thinking in my mind is cycling over and over, here's where you're gonna lay. Here's where you're gonna lay. Here's where you're gonna lay. And we get into his office and he slides 2 pieces of paper across the table that start the change in me. He said, on these 2 pieces of paper, I need you to do something for me. On the one paper, I need you to write 2 to 3 sentences to sum up your daddy's whole life for the headstone. Yeah. 2 to 3 sentences, that max. That's all it'll fit on me. And then he said, on this other piece of paper, I need you to write 2 to 3 paragraphs summing up your whole daddy's life. This is going to go in the newspaper, the obituary. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm putting 2 to 2 together, right? Here's where I'm going to lay. Mm-hmm. That's still going through my mind. And he's saying headstone, obituary. And I'm thinking, well, if I die, what's going to be on the headstone? Mm-hmm. What's going to be on the obituary? Yep. And I started self-assessing. I was like, oh, I don't like this. I don't like this story here. And it brought back a reference to me when I was reading the story about this famous author who was doing an interview, and they asked him, you put out so many, bestsellers. What is your creative process and how do you write books? And the man said, well, the first thing I do when I'm writing the story is I write the last chapter first. That way I always know where I'm going to end up in my story. Mm-hmm. I put that with the headstone and the obituary. That's the last chapter. This is where you're going to end up. So I realized right then, I need to write my last chapter now to how I want this thing to end when I'm 90 or 100 years old or whatever. I need to write what I want them to say about me now. I need to get a vision for that, right? And get up every day and live and work toward that legacy, right? That's what I need to do. Because at this point in time, I wasn't thinking long-term. I'm thinking like, how do I get the next dollar today? Like, how do I get rich today? That's all I was concerned with, not the full picture of my life. Like, what do I want to be remembered for? What do I want to be, known for? Yeah. And it continued it continued to resonate in my spirit until 2 days later when I went to the wake and my daddy was laid out and people began to come up and talk about him. And see, my dad growing up was an alcoholic. From the time I was in middle school to my senior year in high school, he just struggled with alcoholism. Like he could not, he'd be two months sober and then fall off the wagon for 3 weeks. And it was just this constant binging during those 2 to 3 weeks. And that was my whole life, middle school all the way to my senior year. But my senior year, my mother had enough. So she filed divorce. Like going into my senior year, she tried everything to help him. He wouldn't listen. She filed the divorce paperwork. And that was the last time he ever touched a drop of alcohol. From there all the way till he died. The last 15 and a half years of his life, he never touched another drop. Now, what happened was he got in recovery, worked the steps. Finally, he wanted to, right? The motive, the reason. He was trying to get his family back, right? They hit the rock bottom. So he got that together. And then he went out and started helping other people get off drugs and alcohol, just like he had been to help them, right? So he had never really mentioned to me what he was doing with other people. He just said, like, he get a phone call at 1 a.m. and be like, I gotta go see a friend. And my daddy was a good man, so we didn't worry about him doing anything shady. He was like, okay, he's going to help a friend. He was going to help an addict or something that had fell off and was trying to get. So I'm at this wake and I'm about to find out everything my daddy's been doing. So the first guy comes up and he's like, your daddy came and got me on the side of the road, 2:30 in the morning. I had 2 strikes already. And if your daddy hadn't got me, I would have been going to prison for a long, long time. Your daddy didn't give up on me. I've been sober 3 years, and then another guy came up, something, like I was in prison. I called him at 4 a.m. My family wouldn't take my call. Nobody come get me. Everybody giving up on me. He said, your daddy didn't. He came and bailed me out with his own money. He's like, and I've been sober, so many years, 4 or 5 years or whatever it was. And then a couple came up. And a married couple, and they said, we were at the kitchen table with your daddy. We were fighting and mad and, just ready to throw in the towel on the marriage, about to sign divorce. We had the paperwork and everything on the table. And they were like, your daddy said, don't do it. We didn't do it. We recovered and we've been married 10 years since that day. So I'm sitting there and what I'm hearing is not bothering me, but what I'm not hearing is bothering me. And what I mean by that is everything that I'm getting up and chasing every single day. And that rap life and, the Hollywood lifestyle, as we call it, the fast cars, the money, the fast women, and all of that I was in, right? All of that stuff. Nobody was mentioning any of that stuff at the funeral. They weren't saying, well, man, your daddy sure had nice rims on that car, or boy, you should see his gold chain. Like nobody was talking about this. He was making rain in the club, throwing money out. Like nobody's talking about that. The only thing they talked about was how he impacted their life. And that was the legacy. And I realized that's what life's about. Legacy. Leaving this world better than you found it. And right now I'm not doing that. My whole life is about Billy. Like what's in it for me? How can I get to the thing? And whoever I had to run over, it didn't matter, right? That's where I was at that point. And I said, that's got to change. Now, I didn't know how I was going to, implement it or execute it or what I was going to do. I didn't think of motivation or writing books, none of that. At that time, I just made a decision that something has got to change. This is not my last story. This is not the last chapter that I want to write. I know I want to write something that's going to inspire me and that I'm going to be proud. If my mom was to read it later, if she was to read that I want her to be proud. And at that point in time, if she read my true story and it was out on paper, I would be embarrassed. So I made that commitment then, I'm going to figure something out and make a difference. I'm going to find a way, to turn this thing around. And it took 10 years before I found this, got the calling and all that. And I had to go through a lot of trauma. The way my dad died, it caused PTSD in me because he died the way he did. And then I had panic attacks for 7 years, severe panic attacks where I couldn't work, couldn't do anything. Literally locked up in a room 2 weeks at a time. Like I went from being on stage rapping in front of 20,000 people to being locked up in my bedroom 2 weeks scared to come out. Yeah. That's the panic type of stuff I was dealing with. And I dealt with that almost 7 years before I overcame it. So literally I was, superstar rap to like literally non-existent. I lost I lost 7 years of my life, really. But when I came out of it, I still remembered I had made that commitment. Hey, you're gonna make a difference. And what I also learned from that struggle was, to get to your calling and to build a dream and get into your purpose, there's gonna be warfare. and you're going to have to overcome these things. The moment you start setting out on the journey to pursue the things God put in you, that's when the real battle is going to jump off. When I was working for the enemy in that other life, pushing the drugs with my mouth and promoting that lifestyle, it was like the enemy, hands off. That's God's working for me, right? Like I didn't have any drama. But when I started saying, you know, I want to do better and I want to do the right, I want to pursue the call, I want to be great, that's when everything fell apart. You know what I mean? And that's where I had to learn how to really get in the ring and fight to go to the next level. You're always going to have to get in the ring with the things that scares you the most.
Yeah.
To go to that next level, you're going to have to do that. And going through that 10-year struggle, that's what I learned. I learned how to fight. I learned faith. I learned, you know, boldness, and all these things that I teach in this book, I learned during that time. These aren't just like, you know, theories. Like this stuff I had to learn in order to get out of that cage that I was in mentally.
Yeah.
But these things are not just like, you know, superficial. I read them in some personal help, you know, help book and just wrote it. This is my life. You know, that I had to study myself because I got to a point where with the panic attacks, nobody can get in your mind and help you. Like the therapist that I had a bunch of different therapists, you know, they could assist me and try to give me techniques. But at the end of the day, I got to get in here and walk them out. I got to get in here and do the inner homework. And the stuff that's laid out in that book was, you know, part of that journey and the things that I had to do to overcome it.
It's an amazing story and it's a wonderful book. Definitely, we are going to promote this book because this will help anybody. I don't know of anybody that this book couldn't help.
Thank you. I appreciate you. I wrote it that way in a universal way. So it doesn't matter what kind of, you know, if it's, you know, spiritual you need, it's there. If it's business you need, financial need, whatever, these principles are universal and apply to everything, you know, across the board. So.
Yep, it sounds, and you're writing your story still, and that's what's so exciting is it's not over, not by a long shot, and you're gonna have so many people that you're gonna be helping continuously.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. God is good. That's why chapter 31. See the last chapter of the book, impact lives daily. That's the last chapter. We write the last chapter. So every day I get up and say, am I impacting lives? Am I doing something, you know, to leave this place better than I found it? I'll tell you a funny story. When I was going through the panic attacks, I was about 5-6 years in, and when I'd have these severe panic attacks, I'd always call my mom because my mom would listen to me. You know, like she would just listen to me vent, you know, just sit there. Sometimes you need somebody that'll just sit there and listen. But about 5-6 years in, you know, she was like, you gotta get over this now. Daddy's gone, you know, you had your grievance. It's been 5 years. What are you waiting on? Like, you know, and of course I was fighting. I'm like, I'm trying, Mom, I'm trying. But, you know, I'm stuck in this rut. The poor me, why me? And the guilt from moving my daddy. I thought I was the one who killed him and all this kind of stuff that was going on. And I would call her when I'd have these panic attacks. And my mom started doing this one thing. And at the time I hated it. And it made me so mad, but it was such a gift. And I still use it today when I get into trouble or issues or whatever. I called her one day and I'm ready to give her my story, how bad the day is and how much my panic is and I'm losing everything and all this kind of stuff. And I call her and right in the middle of me beginning to go into my self-pity thing, right? She does what a real good mama should do. And she yelled at me. I never forget, I'm sitting there on the phone and I'm trying to go into my story. And all of a sudden I hear her say, Billy. And I'm like, you know, I had to almost like put the phone out. She yelled to get my attention. She said, who have you helped today? That was a question. See, questions take you wherever you want to go. And I was like, Mom, of course I can go into my self-pity. Mama, I can't even help me. And like the doctors don't get it. The therapists don't get it. No friends don't get it. Nobody get it. And she yelled at me again. She said, Billy, who have you helped today? So I said, no, ma'am. You know, I haven't helped anybody today, Mom. I'm sorry. She said, go help somebody. And when you do and get done with that, then you can call me. That's going to be our new standard. You cannot call me until you have helped somebody. She said, I will sit here and listen to you all day. You can whine all you want to after you have helped somebody, but not before that. And she hung the phone up. She hung the phone up on me. So I kid you not, every day, listen, because I was having these panic attacks, I had nobody to talk to. So I had to go find somebody. Every day I'd go to Walmart, see the homeless man. Hey, can I give you $1? Because I needed to talk to Mama. And before I could talk to Mama, I had to do some good that day, right? Find somebody that needed, you know, the battery was dead. I could jump them off. Something I had to do before I could call Mama. But the gift in that was, as soon as I started to shift my focus off of me and my troubles and onto somebody else,
Yeah.
those panic attacks started to diminish just a little bit every day. Because see, panic attacks and that worry and fear, anxiety needed me to focus on me.
Mm-hmm.
And if my focus was on others, it couldn't feed itself. And the more I thought about others and helping others, the stronger that I got. And then I started feeling good when I helped the person, right? And I didn't have a panic attack that day. And I'm like, well, maybe there's something to this, what Mama said, right? So every day I got up and started doing that. And my focus, So I got up every day and started helping people. Next thing you know, I'm beginning to come out of the misery and the pain. I was like, okay, the healing that we're looking for a lot of times is hidden in those around us, right? The miracle we're looking for is hidden in those around us. And when we help others, when we pray for others in their struggles, we get our own miracle and we get our own liberation and we get our own freedom back. So my focus from that point forward is like, okay, when you get up, make that difference and look around. And the days that are going bad and I feel heartbroken or something, I'll look, okay, who else is going through it? Who's going through it right now? Let me call that person.
Yeah.
And then just by calling them up, say, hey, I hear you going through something. I just want to pray for you, let you know that I'm thinking about you. You're not forgotten. I love you. If you need anything, call me. Just by doing that, I heal myself. By the time I hang up, I feel strong. It's something about connecting to somebody else and putting your focus on them that it actually does something to you. I don't know what it is, but it works. Do unto others as you'd have do unto you, that golden rule. And many of the miracles we're looking for, they're staring us right in the eyes right now. We just need to discern and find out where they're at in those around us.
Very true. Very true.
I think that's a great thing to end on too. Just the miracles are all around you, staring you in the eye. I can't say it as good as you do. Dang it. I don't even remember it. But yeah, so blessedandunstoppable.com. You have Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
What's your handle again?
All the social media is under my name.
Under your name. Billy
Alsbrooks. Yeah, at Billy Alsbrooks.
And we'll
you
make
do
sure
the same thing on the YouTube. The YouTube is my major platform. That's where I've got 250 plus motivational videos, teaching videos.
That's awesome.
I've watched quite
poetry,
a few of them actually.
I was watching them today.
Awesome.
Yep. We'll put all of that out there for you.
Appreciate it. And then for those that don't have maybe the data on their phone, you can do it on Spotify, YouTube Music, iTunes. I've got 9 motivational albums, the stuff that's on YouTube. I've converted into albums, so you can get it on there and
That's
stream
great.
it if you're in the gym and don't want to use the data, but just want to stream. You can do that as well.
So smart. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Well, cool. Thank you again so much for being with us today. I feel like I'm just like raring to go. I'm sad it's nighttime because I want to go tell everyone at work. So
God is good. God is good.
Help some people tomorrow. But yeah, to all of our listeners, thank you. Stay awesome.
And keep reaching for your anything.
Bye, guys.
Bye,
Who
everybody.
can you help today? God is good.